There were mornings when getting up felt heavy, when my spirit moved slower than the sun through the blinds. I carried prayers in my pockets, like letters I was afraid to open. Every step felt borrowed, every breath felt small. I smiled to keep the world calm, but inside I was trembling, learning how to be faithful without feeling brave. I thought strength was loud, I thought faith was fire, but all I had left was a quiet desire to stay. When my soul grew tired and my hope fell thin, you didn't ask for more of me, you just met me where I'd been. When my soul grew tired, you didn't walk away. You sat beside my weakness and taught my heart to pray. I remembered who I used to be, the one who never doubted, the one who sang with freedom, like pain would never find me. Now I was learning a new song, written in softer keys, a melody of breathing instead of victory. I stopped trying to be strong enough to carry every day alone. I stopped pretending courage was something I could own. And there in the honest silence, with nothing left to prove, found a gentle mercy waiting in the room. When my soul grew tired, you became my rest. Not a voice from distant heaven, but a hand upon my chest. When my soul grew tired, you kept me safe and still, teaching me that weakness can also be your will. Now I don't fight the quiet, I don't fear the slow. I know that even tired hearts are places grace can grow. And if tomorrow finds me weary, if the road is long again, I'll remember in the darkness how you stayed until the end. When my soul grew tired, you never turned away. You held me in the stillness and taught my heart to stay. felt like an enemy, when every minute carried questions I was too afraid to hold. I kept asking heaven for movement, for something loud enough to prove that I wasn't forgotten, that my prayers still mattered. But the days stayed quiet and the night stayed long, and I found myself learning a language I never wanted to know, the language of waiting. I thought waiting meant weakness, I thought delay meant distance, I thought silence meant absence, and absence meant I had failed. So I filled the room with worry, trying to push the fear away, trying to hurry what was holy, trying to force what only grace can bring. But you don't run on my schedule, and you don't move by my demands. You move in ways I can't measure, in rhythms I don't understand. And somewhere in the middle of my struggle, my restless soul began to change. When my heart learned to wait, I discovered how to breathe. When my heart learned to wait, you were already here with me. I didn't need to chase the future, I didn't need to know the end. When my heart learned to wait, I found you were my friend. I used to think faith was moving faster, getting somewhere, doing more. Now I know sometimes believing is sitting still inside the storm. You taught me that patience isn't passive or weak, it's a quiet kind of courage that only tired souls can speak. Every unanswered morning became a lesson in trust. Every heavy evening became a prayer without rush. I learned to stop demanding what you had not chosen to give. I learned that waiting with you is still a holy way to live. The world kept telling me to hurry, to prove that I was strong and sure, but you kept calling me softly to something deeper, something pure. To rest without explanations, to hope without control, to stay inside the process while you were shaping my soul. When my heart learned to wait, the noise inside grew still. When my heart learned to wait, I began to feel your will. Not written in thunder, not painted in the sky, but whispered in the quiet, where truth and mercy lie. I don't fight the pauses anymore, I don't fear the empty space. I know now that waiting rooms are also filled with grace. And if the answer never comes the way I hoped it would, I've learned that trusting you is already something good. Because you never waste a moment, you never lose a tear. You use the slow and silent times to draw my spirit near. So I'll stay here in the waiting, even when it hurts to stand, knowing that your perfect timing is safer than my plans. When my heart learned to wait, I wasn't left alone. You turned the silent hours into places I call home. When my heart learned to wait, I finally understood. Sometimes the greatest miracle is waiting with you, Lord. If you are tired of waiting, if your hope feels thin and small, remember God is never distant. When the answers seem to stall, He meets you in the waiting. He holds you in the still, and even in the silence, He is working out His will. There are nights when the world grew too heavy, when my thoughts moved faster than my faith could follow. I try to pray out loud, but my voice felt small and fragile, like it might break in the middle of saying what I needed most. The room became a witness to everything I couldn't fix, to dreams that didn't happen, to hopes that came and went, to prayers that felt unanswered, and questions I learned to keep. I used to fear the silence, thinking it meant you were far away. I used to fill the emptiness with restless words and anxious plans. But slowly you taught me that quiet doesn't mean abandoned, and stillness doesn't mean alone. Sometimes the quiet is a shelter, sometimes it is a hand upon the soul, sometimes it is the place where broken hearts are held. When the quiet carried me, I didn't have to pretend. When the quiet carried me, my restless striving came to an end. No speeches, no explanation, no perfect prayers to say. When the quiet carried me, your mercy made a way. I remember how I used to run, trying to escape my own weakness, trying to be stronger than the moment. you never asked for heroes, you never asked for perfection. You only asked for honesty, for a heart willing to stay. So I sat inside the silence with nothing left to prove, and found that your presence was already in the room. Not loud, not demanding, not pushing me to change, just gently reminding that I was still safe. The quiet became a teacher, showing me how to breathe again, showing me how to trust again, showing me how to be still when the quiet carried me. The storm inside grew calm when the quiet carried me. I felt the healing of your arms. I didn't need to fight the night, I didn't need to be brave. When the quiet carried me, I learned how to be safe. There are prayers too deep for language, too tender to be spoken. There are wounds too honest for noise, too fragile for performance. And in those sacred moments, when words can't do their job, the quiet does the praying, better than my trembling voice. I stopped trying to impress heaven, I stopped trying to be enough, I stopped pretending to be unbroken, and simply let myself be loved. The quiet held my failure, the quiet held my fears, the quiet held my memories and every unshed tear. And somehow in that holy space where nothing had to shout, I found the strength to carry on without figuring it out. When the quiet carried me, I wasn't left behind. When the quiet carried me, you were shaping heart and mind, not with force or pressure, not with guilt or shame. When the quiet carried me, you called me by my name. So now I don't fear silence, I don't run from empty hours. I know that in the stillness, your gentle presence flowers. And if tomorrow brings new burdens, and if my faith grows weak again, I'll remember what you taught me when the quiet was my friend. When the quiet carried me, I found a deeper kind of peace. When the quiet carried me, my anxious soul found sweet release. And even when the answers wait, and even when I cannot see, when the quiet carried me, There were days when crying felt like breathing, when every memory carried weight. I didn't know how to release. My heart became a crowded room, filled with things I couldn't change, old regrets, unanswered prayers, and dreams that slowly slipped away. I tried to be strong for everyone, to hold the pieces in my hands, to act like pain was temporary, like faith would always understand. But strength grew tired inside me, and courage felt too far to reach. My tears became the only language my wounded soul knew how to speak. I used to fight the breaking, thinking it meant I'd failed. I used to hide my sorrow, afraid to look too frail. But you never feared my weakness, you never turned away. You met me in the quiet places where honest hearts are brave. When my tears learned to rest, I felt your gentle hand. When my tears learned to rest, you helped me understand. I didn't need to carry everything, I didn't need to pretend. When my tears learned to rest, your mercy called me friend. The night became a sanctuary, a place where I could breathe. No speeches, no performances, just space enough to grieve. You taught me that surrender is not the same as defeat. Sometimes letting go in silence is the holiest kind of relief. Every tear I tried to swallow, you already knew by name. Every fear I tried to conquer, you already felt its pain. And slowly I discovered what my anxious heart had missed, that healing doesn't hurry, grace is not a list. I didn't need to earn your presence, I didn't need to be okay. You only asked for honesty, for a heart that chose to stay. When my tears learned to rest, the storm inside grew still. When my tears learned to rest, I began to trust your will. Not with loud declarations, not with perfect faith. When my tears learned to rest, I found a safer place. Some nights are meant for weeping, some roads are meant to ache, some prayers are meant for silence. When the soul begins to break, and you don't rush the process, you don't demand a smile, you don't demand a smile. You let it rain, you let it pour. 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 You let it rain You sit beside the hurting and hold them for a while. I used to think you needed my strength to be complete. Now I know you simply wanted the parts of me that weep, the tears I tried to hide from became the bridge to you. The sorrow I was ashamed of became the place you moved. When my tears learned to rest, I learned to rest as well. When my tears learned to rest, my heart began to heal. I didn't need to be fearless, I didn't need to be strong. When my tears learned to rest, I knew where I belonged. So if tonight you're crying and you feel too tired to stand, remember God is near you, holding every trembling hand. Your tears are not a burden, your pain is not too much. In the quiet of your breaking, you will feel His gentle touch. When my tears learned to rest, your peace became my home. When my tears learned to rest, I knew I wasn't alone. And even in the darkest hour, when faith feels thin and small, when my tears learn to rest, your love held it all. There was a season when I wore my strength like armor, when I believed that faith was something loud and unbreakable. I walked through every struggle with a brave face and steady hands, pretending that the cracks inside me were too small for anyone to see. I thought you only loved the fearless, the ones who never trembled or fell. So I learned to hide my weakness behind words I didn't even feel. I carried every burden alone, afraid to admit I was tired, afraid to show that my heart was slowly running out of fire. But you don't ask for heroes, you don't ask for perfect souls, you only ask for honesty, for hearts that dare to let go. When I stopped trying to be strong, I finally learned to breathe. When I stopped trying to be strong, your mercy came to me. I laid down all my heavy pride, I gave up my disguise. When I stopped trying to be strong, I saw grace in your eyes. I used to think surrender was the language of defeat. I used to think admitting need meant giving up on belief, but you taught me something gentler, something deeper than control. That real strength grows in weakness when I place it in your hold. I learned to bring you questions without pretending to be brave. I learned to bring you sorrow instead of hiding in the pain. And slowly, like the morning, a softer faith was born. Not built on my performance, but on the love you swore. The room no longer frightened me, the silence lost its sting. I didn't need to prove myself, to be held by the King. When I stopped trying to be strong, my restless heart found peace. When I stopped trying to be strong, my endless striving ceased. You never needed my perfection, you never asked for more. When I stopped trying to be strong, you met me on the floor. Some nights still feel uncertain, some days still test my soul. But now I know that weakness doesn't mean I've lost control. It only means I'm human. It only means I need a Savior who stays close to me when I am on my knees. I don't run from my own limits, I don't fear the fragile parts. I know you love the broken places hidden inside our hearts. So here I am without pretending, without a mask to wear, just a simple, honest child learning how to rest in prayer.
When I stopped trying to be strong,
You carried what I could not bear.
when I stopped trying to be strong,
I felt your faithful care, not in thunder, not in signs, but in a quiet, holy song. When I stopped trying to be strong, I found where I belong. If you are tired of pretending, if your strength is wearing thin, remember God is not afraid of the battles deep within. He doesn't need your bravery, He doesn't need your might. He only needs your open heart to meet you in the night. I stopped trying to be strong, your love became my home.
when I stopped trying to be strong,
I knew I wasn't alone. And now I walk a gentler road where grace is always near. When I stopped trying to be strong, I learned that you were here. There were moments when I thought I was finished, when every dream I carried felt too heavy for my hands. The road behind me looked broken, the road ahead looked cold, and I stood somewhere in the middle with a heart too tired to be bold. I tried to hold on to the promises I used to know by heart, but even the strongest memories were slowly falling apart. The night felt like a stranger, the silence felt too loud, and I wondered if tomorrow would ever come around. I didn't hear a sermon, I didn't see a sign. I only felt the weight of living, one fragile day at a time. But somewhere in the distance, so gentle and so small, I felt something moving that didn't feel like fear at all. When hope whispered my name, I felt my spirit rise. When hope whispered my name, I saw light behind my eyes. Not loud, not overwhelming, not forcing me to change. When hope whispered my name, I knew you felt my pain. I used to think that healing had to come in waves of power, that peace had to arrive at once, like rain in a heavy shower. But you taught me something softer, something patient, kind and slow, that hope often starts as a whisper before it ever learns to grow. It comes without announcements, without trumpets in the sky. It comes like a quiet morning after a long and restless night. And even when I doubted, and even when I failed, you planted small reminders that everything would still be well. I didn't need a miracle to prove that you were near. I only needed mercy, stronger than my fear. When hope whispered my name, the darkness lost its hold. When hope whispered my name, my heart grew brave and bold. Not because the pain had vanished, not because the storm had changed. When hope whispered my name, your love broke every chain. I learned that hope is patient, it doesn't push or fight. It waits beside the hurting until they find the light. It sits with those who struggle, it stays with those who grieve. It walks beside the weary until they can't believe it. And slowly, without warning, the burden felt less strong. The tears became a little softer, the nights didn't feel as long. I started to remember that seasons always turn, that even broken stories are places grace can learn. And though I'm still not finished, and though I'm still on the way, I know that you are with me in every single day. When hope whispered my name, I found the will to stand. When hope whispered my name, I felt your steady hand. You didn't promise easy roads, you didn't promise fame. When hope whispered my name, I knew I wasn't the same. So if you're sitting in the shadows, if your faith feels worn and thin, listen for the gentle voice that calls you from within. It doesn't shout in anger, it doesn't speak in blame, it only says in kindness, I still know your name. When hope whispered my name, my story wasn't done. When hope whispered my name, a new day had begun. And even in the quiet hours, when life feels hard and strange, when hope whispers your name, you'll never be the same.